On today's show, despite how you feel, despite how I feel, the Phoenix Suns need to get the Miles Bridges extension out of the way and why they should wait on a Jalen Green extension when it comes time. All that and much more in this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome back into yet another edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Benjamin Garcia. I'll be your host for today and furthermore shows of Locked On Phoenix Suns. We got a lot of things to jump into. Haywood Highsmith, we talked about this, eventually does return back to the Phoenix Suns. Apparently, there were some rumors that he could potentially go elsewhere. That was shut down. And some flowers given to the Phoenix Suns front office for continuously working on the margins. Plus, Amar'e Stoudemire and Mike D'Antoni were both inducted in the NBA Hall of Fame this past weekend. Why is Devin Booker seen as someone who is on the outside looking in right now to be a Hall of Famer, even though we all kind of argue he's the second greatest Sun of all time? We'll talk about that. But first, Jalen Green and Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges is extension eligible. And we saw that, we saw the other day, if you maybe didn't see it, maybe you didn't see this. But the other day on the Hoop Collective podcast, that's done by Dave McMenamin, if I'm not mistaken, and Brian Windhorst. Everyone knows who Brian Windhorst is. He was quoted saying Phoenix not only has an intent to pay Miles Bridges, but they have an intent to really give him a big role. Now, we can talk about a different day what that role looks like for Miles Bridges, if that's the right thing for the Phoenix Suns to do, because as you guys know, I have some question marks. You know, I told you guys that I'm not really interested in talking about the human element of the Miles Bridges thing anymore. Obviously in conversation at some point it's going to come up, but I'm more interested in talking about the basketball aspect with Miles Bridges. We know about it. We've digested it. It's time to move on from that. This is our bed. We are lying in it. Now it is time for us to figure out what we're going to do with Miles Bridges. Well, Miles Bridges is currently extension eligible, and Miles Bridges is also on an expiring deal that the Suns inherited from the Charlotte Hornets. He is currently on the back end of a 3-year, $75 million contract. He'll be an unrestricted free agent after this year. He is currently on the books to make $22 million or 13% of the team's cap this season. And it's no question that Miles Bridges now at any time is extension eligible for the Phoenix Suns. However, it looks like the Phoenix Suns aren't really interested in doing potentially an extension right now. And my question to that would be, why? What are you waiting on? And this is where I have to warn you guys at the beginning of the show, is for me, it was just like, I believe the Phoenix Suns are concerned about the backlash of that it is going to get in the media, or I guess I should say in the Arizona media, because as much as people want to talk about Miles Bridges, just the basketball player, and so do I, this pleading no contest to a federal domestic violence charge is going to follow him his entirety of his NBA career. That's just the unfortunate reality for Miles Bridges. And I've told you guys before on the show that I wasn't thrilled with Brian Gregory going up to the podium and telling everyone that his actions were unexcusable, because if that was the case, why did you trade for him? And then all reports are pointing to you giving him an extension. And it's like, again, I'm not trying to say that the Phoenix Suns put a huge stamp of approval on domestic violence, because clearly they do not. And clearly they condemn domestic violence. But you are showing everyone that like you are at least a little tolerable to some things if you can help further the Phoenix Suns basketball endeavors. And for me, I'm surprised that the Suns didn't already have an agreement in place for Miles Bridges when they brought him over. You knew that the media backlash was not going to be great when you brought Miles Bridges over because of his history in the, domestic violence, federal domestic violence charge, or the pleading no contest to a federal domestic violence charge. You knew that was coming. Why not just take all those media lumps in one day? And I know I have been someone that has been pretty harsh on the Miles Bridges trade. I get painted as someone who is negative towards the Phoenix Suns offseason, and that's just not true. I love everything the Phoenix Suns have done this offseason. I think Brian Gregory has had a masterful offseason outside of the one move in bringing Miles Bridges to Phoenix. I don't think one thing, paints me as a completely negative person for the Phoenix Suns, but I clearly have concerns with the way Miles Bridges is going to fit in this offense. You have a traditional-ish center in Mark Williams navigating the painted area. And you have two guys in Jalen Green and Miles Bridges who want to finish around the rim. Statistically, neither of them do it highly efficiently. Miles Bridges is not a good three-point shooter, and he's a inconsistent defender to say the least. So I have concerns about it. But what is vehemently true is that the Phoenix Suns are going to pay this guy. And honestly, all the leverage is kind of on his side. The Suns gave up a 2033 unprotected first-round pick for this guy. They cannot let him walk for nothing. Yeah, next year, could they technically sign and trade him elsewhere? Yeah, I guess that's definitely possible. But you don't want to go down that route. It's like the Mark Williams thing. The Suns always kind of had to re-sign him because they gave up 2 first-round picks to bring him to Phoenix. The last thing you want to do is bring a guy in and then let him walk after a year. I mean, that is just bad business. So, as much as I think the fit with Miles Bridges basketball-wise is a bit concerning, just get the extension done. Because you can't let this guy walk. You kind of have to make it work. And I know there are some projections for Miles Bridges and what he is going to get. I think for me, I'd feel comfortable signing Miles Bridges, the basketball player, to somewhere between like 4 years, $80 million, $20 million a year. Feels fair for Miles Bridges, somewhere around there. I've been pretty good about getting those numbers correct. I would feel pretty good. Well, I'd feel fine about getting him for that number. But it feels like the Suns are just kind of waiting because maybe they're concerned about what the media backlash is going to be. And to that, I say, guys, you made your bed, lie in it. Just do it. And the backlash is not going to be as big as when you traded for the guy. Like, I understand there is a human element to this as well, that for some reason, some people just want to act like there's not. And unfortunately there is. Just pay the guy because you gave up a massive, a really, really valuable pick for him. And then there's the inverse in Jalen Green, who is not eligible for an extension for about another month and a half. Jalen Green is currently on a 3-year, $106 million deal. If I'm not mistaken, that contract, he's got 36. So Jalen Green's got $36 million for this year and $36 million for the next year. He is not an expiring deal. This is where I am in the complete inverse for what the Phoenix Suns need to do for Jalen Green. I want to see the Suns make Jalen Green go out there and earn it. They didn't give up anything massive to bring Jalen Green in. We know the Phoenix Suns tried to shop Jalen Green around when they once traded Kevin Durant for him and amongst other things. Come on, Malawach, Dylan Brooks, whatever. They needed Jalen Green to make the salaries work. So he was salary filler in a trade. And we know the Suns tried to trade him or tried to flip him to another team, and no one really wanted it. Jalen is going into his 6th season in the NBA. This is a prove-it year for Jalen Green. He becomes extension eligible on October 1st. And if I were the Suns, I would not entertain an extension with him. Because if he doesn't, this feels like almost a win-win scenario for the Phoenix Suns. Because if he does turn into that player that we all think he could become with his skill, given his skill sets of a player, this uberly talented offensive player who tries really hard defensively and attacks the basket, which is something the Phoenix Suns have been trying to get out of a player for a long time now. Either he turns into that, or Jalen Green kind of hovers around what he's been his entire career, a little bit of an inefficient player. He does try very hard, but still an inefficient player who's not great defensively. Then he becomes a expiring deal next year with 36 million. Next year he becomes a $36 million expiring deal. And I think that makes him 10 times more valuable to the Phoenix Suns and gives them a chance to trade him. So I'm not against extending Jalen Green. I'm against extending Jalen Green right now, because then it handcuffs you on what you can actually do next year. Let this thing play out. Either Jalen turns into this high-level offensive player that is going to be Devin Booker's running mate for years to come, or he stays kind of what he is, and you've got an expiring $36 million contract that you can use to bring in someone else that can help out the Phoenix Suns next year. So Miles Bridges, let's get it done. Jalen Green, let's hold off a little bit. Haywood Highsmith returns to the Suns, and it's because Brian Gregory continues to do good business. Let's talk about that next. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with everyday games. Whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league, every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you can get a chance to make your prediction before first pitch. Hey, Corbin Carroll just came off being the NL Player of the Week. Maybe sprinkle a little bit on him. Sometimes it's a hitter who's been on a hot streak, a favorable pitching matchup, or even a baseball park that tends to give up home runs. Hey, Chase Field, Coors Field, those are two places you could probably look into. Those are always the first things I look at before making my daily Dingers pick. So are you ready to play your game? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a home run. Play ball, swing for the fences. On FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. So I just want to say credit to the Phoenix Suns, who continue to do good business, because the other day I was a little disappointed, and that was filmed before, we really saw a lot of the reporting that basically had Haywood Highsmith eventually returning to the Phoenix Suns. That reported by John Gambadoro, then followed by amongst others. But I was a little upset to see Haywood Highsmith get waived. And part of that had to do with the fact with Haywood Highsmith, I just value him. He is like the perfect player for the Suns when you've got an injury or two and you need a veteran player who is not over the hill, who can fit into your culture and do exactly what that other player was potentially doing, but at a lesser than level, but knowing that you're still got that firm foundation and identity of what you want to be on the court. I like Haywood Highsmith a lot. 6'5", 220. He is listed as a forward. He's obviously a smaller forward, not a small forward. I guess he's that too, but he's a smaller forward in the NBA. But he is an extremely lengthy player who, in his limited action for the Suns, actually did a pretty good job. 52% from the field, 57% from three, 85% from the free throw line. Now, he only played 13 minutes and only showed up in 7 games. He only played in an average of 13 minutes a game and only played in 7 games as a whole. But 5 points and just felt like he was everywhere. Long, lengthy player who's pretty good defensively, shoots the 3 ball pretty well. I like Haywood Highsmith. He's like the perfect 9th or 10th player off your team. And when Jordan Goodwin eventually goes down for, God forbid, something, you feel overly comfortable about his ability to come in and to bridge that gap until Jordan Goodwin comes back. So I'm not saying Haywood Highsmith's a difference maker. He's going to be a guy that comes in the playoffs and changes a lot of things for him. What he does is when the boat gets steered off course a little bit because something happens, he's that steady hand on the wheel that helps kind of drift it back to where it needs to go until everything else kind of gets figured out. All the injuries go away and everyone's healthy. So love seeing Haywood Highsmith come back. What is most interesting about this is I was kind of confused when I first saw it that the Suns had let Haywood Highsmith go. One of my theories, which I even mentioned on the show, were definitely half-baked. Were definitely half-baked theories was, I was like, are the Suns going to do a trade? Like, that's kind of weird. And I mentioned a guy because when you go down the Suns roster, and because I had someone say to me, like, you're hating on Jalen Green. I'm like, no, it's just process of elimination. I don't think they're trading Devin Booker, Bouye, Bridges, Brea, Brooks. They just extended Brooks. They can't even trade him. Dunn, Fleming. Like, you just look through some of these guys. You can't trade Williams, Gillespie, Goodwin, and Brooks. All those guys got extended. You can't trade them. And so, okay, you're not trading Devin Booker. That doesn't make any sense. Bouye, Brea. You can't trade Miles Bridges until I believe September 13th. You can't trade him in an aggregation with players, and they just traded for him, so they're not trading him. And you go down the list, like you're not trading Rasheer Fleming, you're not trading Kamon Molich, you're not trading Koa Pete. It's not me hating on Jalen Green. It was just like that's the only guy that you can really trade that would make any sense. Everyone else, either you can't trade them, or it's like Devin Booker, and you know they're not trading them. Like Luke Kennard, you can't trade. You just signed him. So that was one of my other theories was, okay, are they trading Jalen Green? Like, okay, this is kind of interesting. It's August. Why? Usually these deals get done 2 months ago. What's going on? Did someone just call the Suns and said, hey, something happened. Let's try to make a deal. And the Suns needed to create a roster spot. And so they let go of Haywood Highsmith. And I was like, God, is a trade coming? Because it would be weird to let go of Haywood Highsmith and then just sign someone else. It's not what usually happens in mid-August. Pretty much everyone's got their team set. So I thought there was potentially, it was a half-baked idea. I didn't give any real thought to the idea, but my thought process was, okay, are they trading Jalen Green? Because that's a little strange. I didn't think that was happening, but it did cross my brain. But in reality, because I didn't do enough research like I probably should have, it saved the Suns some money. Haywood Highsmith's new deal sounds like it's going to be non-guaranteed, whereas before it was fully guaranteed. That saves the Suns $1 million, who's previously guaranteed, and potentially the full $3 million if the new deal is never guaranteed. Under his old contract, not exercising his guarantee would have saved only $2 million. That is from my guy, John Voida, over at Bright Side of the Sun, managing editor over there. So it's just good business from the Phoenix Suns. And it's just good business from Brian Gregory. I assume it's Brian Gregory leading the charge. He's the general manager. I have questions sometimes on who's actually calling the shots there. But again, it's just good business done by Brian Gregory. Like I think it's fair to own that. I was pretty harsh on the addition of Brian Gregory to the Phoenix Suns front office when he originally showed up here. But I got to give the guy credit. You know, every general manager has to have some secret sauce if they're going to be a great GM in the NBA or in the NFL. there's three things that GMs really do that are prominent. Obviously, they do a lot of other things, but these are the three prominent things: trade, draft, sign players. And if you are going to be one of the better GMs in the NBA, if you're going to be like, who's a good GM that I can mention? I don't know why that Brad Stevens, right? Brad Stevens is the president, but whatever. You get what I'm saying. If you're going to be a good front office person, Brad Stevens, Bob Myers, you got to be great at one of three things. You could be great at multiple things, but you have to have a secret sauce. And for Brad Stevens, it's, trading players. Normally he's on the better end of that. For Bob Myers, it's drafting a guy or two. He drafted Klay Thompson, drafted Draymond Green. For was the Boston Celtics general manager? He's now the GM over of the Utah Jazz. Oh my God, it's gonna kill me. Utah Jazz GM. Maybe he's the president of basketball operations. What's his name? Golly, Ainge. Austin Ainge, not Danny Ainge. Austin Ainge. The president of basketball operations for the Utah Jazz, Austin Ainge. Or Danny Ainge back in the day. What about that? We'll just go to Danny Ainge, who, wheeling and dealing all the time, right? Everyone's got to have a secret sauce. For Brian Gregory, through the first couple of years of his tenure as the Phoenix Suns general manager, it feels like his secret sauce is, it seems like he's a pretty good drafter from my eyes. I'd say he's a so-so trader so far, but pretty good drafter, so-so trader. Feels like an expert when it comes to managing the money for the Suns, because Jordan Goodwin was a steal, Colin Gillespie was a steal, Mark Williams was a steal, and Dylan Brooks was team-friendly. You got 4 team-friendly deals, and then you found a way to save a little dough on the margins in Haywood Highsmith. It's just good GMing from Brian Gregory, who continues to not let any stone go unturned. So, pretty happy with that. Really quickly, Amar'e Stoudemire, Mike D'Antoni, Hall of Famers. But for some reason, Devin Booker's not. Let's talk about that next.
The problem of finding clothes that you can live in all day, be comfortable, and do whatever you need to do, whether it's just chilling, going to meetings, playing golf, being on the move, that problem has been solved by Cozy Earth. The everyday polo is the answer. It's lightweight, built to move with you, just easy to wear everywhere. I've got it on right now, and it's fabulous. Plus, the Cozy Earth Essential Socks, they're exactly what the name suggests. Soft, supportive, comfortable enough that you stop thinking about them halfway through the day. Plus, Cozy Earth backs everything with a 10-year warranty and hassle-free returns. So if something isn't quite right, you're covered. That makes trying them for yourself an easy decision. I've got the Cozy Earth Everyday Polo in blue and in black. Check them out at CozyEarth.com. Use the code LOCKEDON for 20% off. That's right, Locked On for an exclusive 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, please mention you heard about it right here, CozyEarth.com.
Okay, closing out the show. So over the weekend, people always ask me, like, what iteration of the Phoenix Suns did you start falling in love with? I was a massive Phoenix Suns fan. It's actually my first love. Basketball is always my first love. I love football, I love baseball, but basketball is always my first love. And that was with the Phoenix Suns. So Steve Nash, Sean Marion's Sean Marion's right here, right? He's my favorite Suns player of all time. It's 7 second or less Suns. And over the weekend, Amar'e Stoudemire and Mike D'Antoni were both enshrined into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Now, the Basketball Hall of Fame is a little different. It's got a couple of different ways that you can get in. A lot of it is it's not just about your play. It's also about like impact on the sport. So a lot of players are Hall of Famers that you wonder if other sports, if they would be. So I'd say it's the least strict Hall of Fame out of like the major 4 sports, right? But I saw this and I thought it was fascinating. Steve Nash, I would say, is the greatest Phoenix Suns player of all time. Sometimes people argue with me. I think that they're mostly wrong about this, but for me, it feels like Steve Nash is the best Suns player of all time. But when talking about the second best Suns player of all time, there's a couple of different people you could throw in that discussion. Charles Barkley, but I don't know, he wasn't really here long enough. Amar'e Stoudemire, he was here for a really long time. He was dominant. And Devin Booker. But I don't think anyone would really argue with you that Devin Booker is probably the second greatest Phoenix Suns player of all time. So if that's the case, why does Devin Booker's probability to get in the Hall of Fame so low? I don't get it. According to Basketball Reference, which is where I get a lot of my statistics and a lot of my data, Devin Booker has a 17% chance to make the Hall of Fame. Let me read to you some players who have a higher chance of him. Al Horford, Trae Young, Gilbert Arenas, Manu Ginobili, Mark Price, the former Phoenix Suns center, has a 18% chance to get to the Basketball Hall of Fame. Kemba Walker is only 2 percentage points less than Devin Booker at 15%. And Devin Booker has a pretty good resume. He's a 5-time All-Star, All-NBA first team, All-NBA third team. And you look at like Amar'e Stoudemire, it's just fascinating that although he's a highly decorated player, he made All-NBA second team 4 times. He made All-NBA first team 1 time. He's a 6-time NBA All-Star. It's just fascinating that he was such a shoo-in to the NBA Hall of Fame, and we largely think he's not as good as Devin Booker. When Devin Booker, as a Phoenix Suns player, I understand Amar'e went to New York and went to and I believe went to a All-Star team. And yeah, he went to an All-Star team and also won an All-NBA second team in 2011 as well. But it's just crazy how different eras are. Because I don't remember Amar'e Stoudemire as fondly as I remember Devin Booker. I know I've been hard on Book, and I don't really feel bad about that, but he's a overall better player than Amar'e Stoudemire was. I mean, Booker led them to a championship shot. And like Amar'e never did that. And it's just fascinating. Because Amar'e also had time where he missed time. He missed like a full year one time when he, I believe it was his knee he hurt. It's just crazy to me. Like, I always talk about Devin Booker being a shoe into the Hall of Fame because I just assume, the way he's projected to go is, with the rest of his career, it's just gonna continue to grow. But I just don't get it. Al Horford, Trae Young, Gilbert Arenas. I don't think any of those guys were ever as good as Devin Booker at his peak. It's just fascinating. And so it would be a shame if Devin Booker did not make the Hall of Fame, because then you're talking about potentially the greatest Phoenix Suns player, not even being a Hall of Famer. Just weird. Very weird. And I still think, given his resume, he will be a Hall of Famer someday. With that being said, guys, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Reminder, we are down to 3 days a week all the way until about mid-September. We'll go back to being 5 days a week, but a little bit of a lull in the NBA period. So taking a little bit of time off. But until then, until Friday, I'm Benjamin Garcia. It's been Locked On Phoenix Suns, and I will talk to you guys then. See ya.